I was a little fearful when I starting at a late age, but my goal was to become an attorney. I want to be that beacon of light to help them out of situations that they find themselves in and cannot afford an attorney.
I wanted to actually come back to school to get my degree, but I'm not sure where I want to go. So with Martin being that one hidden jewel in the city, you drive past it every day, I stopped. I took a chance, I walked in the building, and that chance turned into reality.
For 40 plus years, this has been a pillar in the community where healing takes place.
Because Martin has a lot to offer to people as well as education, the love that they share that you feel here at Martin.
Martin University is it.
Hello, happy Friday, and welcome to Let's Talk Live with Martin U, the live podcast bringing much needed conversations to the table. Let's Talk Live with Martin U is an exciting, reverent, and educational podcast that digs deep into the current topics, community involvement, and stories of our alumni success that only Martin University can deliver. I am Atia King, and joining me today is Miss Junteenth, Teresa Clay. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I felt like I was freezing or something. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me. To start this show off, I just want to know a little bit about who you are, your background. Just tell us what you do.
Well, thanks first for having me, Tia, and Martin University for just, recognizing a queen. I really appreciate it. So I am Miss Indy Juneteenth 2022. My name is Theresa Clay. I'm originally from St. Louis, but Indy has been my home for the last 10 years. I am a medical sales rep and licensed optician, so I cover 8 states in the U.S. for a luxury eyewear company. I'm a mother of 1, and it just goes on and on. I'm a single mom.
You are the jack of trades. It sounds like I don't know how you're able to do so much, and just be one person. So you have quite a story from your childhood, and I read in a recent article you had with the Indianapolis Recorder where you mentioned how foster care helped blossom you into being a beacon of light. And I just want to see if you can share with us what you mean by that.
Yeah. Definitely. I think when I first entered foster care at 13 years old, I definitely didn't feel like that at that point, right? Because it was a scary time and it was a hurtful time. But what I realized pretty quickly was this was the second chance that I had always prayed for. When I was in that traumatic experience as in my childhood, and it went on for a long time, I used to just, my prayer was, Lord, please just let me wake up and be somewhere else. Just give me a chance. And so it didn't take me very long to realize it was my second chance. And so I tried to do everything I could to make the best of it. And so I don't think I started off thinking I was a speaker of any kind, but I just started speaking about my experiences, my life, and people were listening. So I just kept speaking. Yeah.
I love that. So you're heavily involved within the community. What projects are you currently involved in right now? I know the holidays are coming up. It's about to get colder. So there's so many different things that people can do in the community to help somebody else. So what are you working on right now?
Oh man, it's been a whirlwind already. We've done so many things out in the community. James and Tawana Webb have done a phenomenal job with creating Indy Juneteenth, and there's layers to that. So the pageant is just one layer of that. But as the queen, I'm definitely out in the community. Recently, I did the outreach gala, and if you guys aren't familiar with outreach, it's a center for youth for teen homelessness, and it's what they do there is just phenomenal. So I was able to for the first time be a host, MC at a gala, and it was just a wonderful time, and I felt so honored to do that and to raise awareness for teen homelessness, because we really don't think of teens when we think of homelessness, right? as much, just because they're just not out as visible, right? But a lot of kids
Right.
who go through foster care also end up homeless, right? Because they age out of the system and don't always have a support system. So that's been near and dear to my heart, the outreach center. So I just finished that. And then I'm working on a project with SB Moms. Now they're doing a candlelight ceremony, and I'm so excited to be a part of this memorial service. It's a candlelight service for women who have lost pregnancies or lost infants, and that's something in our community, again, we just don't talk about. We really don't talk about, and we haven't created a space for it. So Tiara Reed, who's done a phenomenal job with creating this upcoming event on October 15th, I'll be emceeing that, and I'm really excited to be a part of that, because it's a space that's needed in our community for sure.
I agree. I think not a lot of people realize how common it is for women to lose children and miscarry, amongst a lot of other things. And with the laws ever changing now with the woman body, I think it's really important for people to have a safe space where they can go and not feel ridiculed and feel seen and heard. So I think what you're doing on October 15th is really, really big. And where is that going to be at? So whoever's watching, if they, aren't
Yeah,
comfortable tuning in onto the live and saying, I am a part of that group too, maybe they can register and they can be a part of something that they, relate to.
absolutely. Let me get you the information. It will be at New Birth Fellowship Church. So that's on West Vermont Street, New Birth Fellowship Church, and it'll start at 5:45 on October 15th. I can't wait to see people there because, they'll be able to light a candle in memory of the child they've lost. It's such a wonderful opportunity to just come together.
Will there be any type of, resources for people to reach out, like an outreach? So if they need further help outside of just candle visual, they can seek that there.
Absolutely. So they have planned, Tierra has planned this event from the front to the bottom. I mean, there's going to be vendors available. Marion County Health Department will be there, but there's going to be a lot of resources available. We've created a gift bag that'll have some other things in it that they can touch base and just stay connected. Yeah.
I love that. That's great. So even after this show, I want you to send me that so then I can make something for Martin University and send that over to people in our community, in our university, that if they're enduring something like that, then they can go somewhere where they feel seen and heard. So I love that.
Yes,
Also,
absolutely.
the next question,
Mhm.
into the crown and your title, can you give us insight on the process of becoming Miss Juneteenth?
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are like, well, when did it happen or how did it happen, right?
Hmm.
And this was the second annual pageant for Indy Juneteenth, and so it happened at Marion University last year. But the process is a long process. It starts around this time, selecting women from the community, and then we're narrowed down to like five contestants, and then we go through a 6 to 8 month journey. And that journey is learning each other, but learning who we are as women. And I have to tell you something. I have to share. Okay. When I
Yes.
started this journey, I wasn't wearing my own hair, and I never had the confidence to do that. But went through it, I thought you just can't come out the other end the way you went in. And
Hmm.
so what I came out with was confidence in myself, confidence in just who I am as a person, right? And I'm like, I'm just gonna rock my natural hair. It was the first time in my life. You could have paid me money to tell me I'd be on stage.
Right.
So it's a
So it's
wonderful job.
not just your regular, like a pageant like
Oh no.
experience. It's nothing like that, because I feel like people might have a misconception of what Miss Juneteenth is compared to like a Miss Indiana or just a Miss USA, things like that. So this is like a legit, it's almost like a program,
It
would you
absolutely
say?
is. It absolutely is. That's a great way to say it, Tia, because it's a transformation, and I think that's Juneteenth in itself. Just the significance of it is about transformation. It's about birth. It's about new starts. It's about beginnings, right? It's about regaining who our culture and who we were and who we are, and so that's no different from the pageant. And so I feel like, let
Mm-hmm.
me tell you, I feel like a courageous queen. I'm out in the community because what other queen is, right? I'm
Right.
out because we need to be seen. So I feel that the queens of Indy Juneteenth are courageous. They're not just pretty faces. No, 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 no. There's
No,
so much more to who we are.
I love that. That's just so. How do people even get selected to be chosen? Like, is there an application process, or are they just like, oh well, I heard this lady Teresa, she out here. Like, how does it go?
No,
How do they
you have
find
to.
you?
I'm so glad you said that because today is the last day to register for the next 2023 season. Okay, so today is the last day to register, and you go on indyjuneteenth.org. So indyjuneteenth.org and register. And please, it's going to be young women like yourself, Tia. It's going to be the women that are willing um, to just step out and be a part of the conversations and the culture. We're already, shaking things up maybe behind the scenes. We've always kind of been that kind, passionate kind. But what happens when you step on a stage with it? And what I can tell you is the other queens that I was in the competition with, and I truly feel like we're all queens. I mean, we all
Right.
felt that way. Not one of them wasn't transformed. Not one.
Mm.
Yeah.
So there's not just like a winner. Everybody is evolving in the midst of this journey that you're all on. You're just going to be the spokesperson pretty much and
That's
the
ex-
face
yeah.
of it. So
That's
I
exactly
like
how
that a lot.
I see it. That's exactly how I see it. And I remember like an hour before we all went on stage, and one of the girls was like, "Can you believe one of us is gonna be the queen?" I'm like, "So this is the thing. One of our friends that we've known this whole time, tomorrow
Hmm.
will be queen. It'll be one of our friends, and we're gonna be so happy for her." Right, and then we'll move on with all the stuff we got to do. We have stuff to do, and we've continued to
Right.
do it.
That's just great. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see who will join and who you
I
can
can't.
give the crown to next. And before that even happens for the next journey, what all are you working on as you do have this title
Yeah.
right now?
That's a great question. I had a phenomenal opportunity to work with the Children's Museum on the Emmett Till and Emmett and Mamie Till exhibit that they're doing now. That exhibit started at the Children's Museum and it's going to tour the
Hmm.
U.S. I had a wonderful opportunity to be a part of the panel. Look at that history coming back around like that. Um,
Hmm.
and so for me, it's the other day I sat down with the queens. We did a Facebook Live about mental health and suicide prevention. That's another. It's being able to have these hard conversations, right? And so I plan to be out in the community having hard conversations and having loving conversations because I always bring love, always.
That's what people need, though. They need the uncomfortable conversation. So later down the line, it's not so uncomfortable. It's comfortable and common, and people feel like they have a safe space instead of going elsewhere and not having a safe space at all. So I really do like that you are mentioning the other things that you do with your title. It's not just Juneteenth. It's bigger than that. It's bigger than all of us. You are being somebody to speak, for the people, like I said earlier, like you're the face. So, with the Emmett Till information at the Children's Museum, can you give us a little insight about that a little more?
Yeah, we all think we know the Emmett Till story until you really delve into it and you realize there's a lot of things you just didn't know, right?
Hmm.
And so you think Emmett Till and you think about the devastation of the story, and then you think the Children's Museum. Well, how are you going to do that in a way that is okay for children to view it? And I have to tell you, they've done a phenomenal job with this exhibit. It's done in a way that they work hand in hand with the Till surviving family and the Emmett Till Center that's down in Memphis. They worked with them as well, Interpretive Center. So they've done it in just a fantastic way. But it also focuses on Mamie because Mamie Till Mosley, Emmett's mom, how courageous she was in the times after Emmett's death, because it takes a lot of courage, right, to say, let the world see what has happened. And it's her choice to do that that kind of catapults so many other things that happen in history. So it really focuses on them, her as a mother and him as a son, and that relationship quite a bit. But it doesn't, it's true to what the story is. So it's really well done. Please go and see it if you guys haven't seen it yet. Please go to the Children's Museum. I think it's going to be there through January.
I was just going to ask you, how long is the exhibit here for? Because I know that the Children's Museum, we have one of the best children's museum in the country, and I didn't realize that until I guess my teammates in college. They're from other, states, and I'm like, y'all don't have a children's museum? Y'all don't have this? Like, we have all this stuff, and they're just like, no, we have a museum. I'm like, so y'all don't like do little dinosaur fossils? And like, I remember
brush off with a little brush.
Because they had a Ruby Bridges exhibit there as well a few years back when I was a kid, and that was really big. And Ryan White, they had him in there as well. And I think it's important to not let certain points of history go away or disappear, so future kids, so my nephews and nieces, know what's going on too. So I think that's a really big deal. So if you are free any day, go to the Children's Museum.
Please,
check out that exhibit.
Please do, and see the exhibit. And it's like I said, it's it's emotional, but it's so well done. And like you said, Tia, they have the Ruby Bridges exhibit there. They have Ryan White, and so they understand about kind of approaching these conversations about children and difficult stories, right? So they definitely do have it. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah,
you sound excited, and that's what you should be. Like, if you're in this position, in this title, you should be passionate about what you do. And it definitely shows just with you speaking and voicing what you've been involved in. It's not just for ACT. It's definitely something that you can tell that you're invested in, which is really good.
Thank you. It means so much. Thank you.
Yeah. So the next question is, what does it mean to be crowned as Miss Indy Juneteenth to you?
That's such a great question. Look, y'all, Tia stumped me. I would say, she got me. I would say that it's a rise to freedom. For me, it was so symbolic, because when we talk about the conversations that of the topics that I've been, doing in the community, they're hard, right? Mm-hmm. And so is Juneteenth. That's hard too. And I feel that that is a symbol of the ultimate freedom, right? And so these conversations are freeing. They're healing. Mm-hmm. They're freeing. And so for me, it's like to represent freedom. That's what I feel like it represents. Even when it's difficult, even when it's hard. I was thinking about something the other day, in Matthew, and look, let me tell you, I'm not going to Bible beat you. I'm not a Bible beater. You have your favorite quote, your favorite one in your life. But I always think of Matthew 7:7-12, which is ask, seek, and knock, right? Mm. And God says, ask, right? And it'll be given to you, seek, right? But he says knock too. And I love this part, because this is the thing. Those three things are things we have to do on our part. He says, I need you to ask. I need you to seek. Mm. I need you to actually move forward, right? And then I need you to knock. The fact that you have to knock alone means the door is closed. Mm. And right? So a closed door doesn't always mean no. A closed door means persistence may be needed, right? So for me, like those things, all those wisdoms that I've learned through the years of growing up through trauma, I am here to help give that out to the community. And I truly believe that it will help heal. In what way? I don't know. Only God knows. But I'm truly going to try. I'm going to try.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do. Yes. So with your platform as Miss Junteenth, what do you plan to share with the community? From you.
You say of me?
Like from you, yeah. I know you mentioned your trauma and how you want to be able to help heal people and guide them somewhere where you didn't have that resource. So now you're a resource to others. So how do you plan to use your platform as Miss Junteenth to, help the community?
Yeah, I've continued to reach out to organizations to meet and to be present. I also I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, you're
And I also have been showing up to events with kids where there's kids involved so that they can see me, right?
fine.
I need you to. I'm so sorry. I'm so
You're fine.
sorry. Where kids are can see me, and I've been reading to kids on Mondays and things like that. So I think it's about really being present and sharing that you can survive after trauma, and that's my story. That is more than anything what's important to me. That people realize not only can you survive, but you can thrive after trauma, right? And for me, it was childhood sexual abuse, and it's something that people weren't very, back when I was
Mhm.
growing up, they weren't wanting to talk about it. People talk about it a lot more now, but not enough still. Not enough still. So being able to say, yeah, that was my story and I survived that and I continue to heal in that and thrive, right? And that's what this looks like.
There's a lot of people, even in my generation, my age, they'll just kind of, I don't know if I'm just like very like comforting to talk to, like a good listener, but they'll just
Yeah.
come out and just mention certain traumas to me without realizing that it's trauma or
Oh,
realizing that
wow.
it was sexual abuse and they just think, it's common. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
got to be the person to tell them, well, you do know that this is what happened to you. And that might be hard for them to accept, or they may not think, well, no, it wasn't that, or anything like that. So I think what you're doing is really, really, really important, especially for Black women and Black girls and what they've experienced, what they're not willing to talk about. I think it's really important that you're using your platform to spread awareness and let them know that they're seen too, just as much as anybody else. So I think that's phenomenal. And I'm rooting for you and
Thank
everything that
you,
you
Tia.
do as you
Thank you.
continue this title as Miss Juneteenth. I think it's very important for people to feel seen. I think you're doing a really good job at that.
I think you're doing a great job too. So whatever you do, just I know it's gonna grow and just be amazing. So you keep doing what you're doing too.
Thank you. So we
Yeah.
talked about what you plan to do with your platform here, and
Mm-hmm.
we know that you're from St. Louis. Do you have any plans of giving back or going back there to even be like a spokesperson from your original community?
Yes, so for years, I've been heavily involved in the foster care community there, and I recently went back and filmed a documentary that we're doing with two directors. One that actually won an Emmy, actually, um, but I've done some work with Oprah and about again just surviving childhood sexual abuse and what that looks like now, 20 years later from our original story that we did. Um, where are those people 20 years later and how have they survived and it's some of it is devastating, right, because it is
Mm-hmm.
difficult, right? And so we're trying to figure out now, like with research and doctors, in this documentary, which is called Take Good Care. You can follow it on Instagram. Take Good Care documentary. But we're trying to figure out what is the difference between people who kind of thrive after trauma and people who kind of maybe turn towards drugs, alcohol, and self-soothing in
Mm-hmm.
that way. And hopefully, what comes of it is something that can truly help people heal. So I'm always involved, and I'm always connected to my St. Louis roots. Always,
Nice.
yeah,
Love that. I have some family that live in St. Louis. So they're always a good time when I go down there, the hospitality, the love. So
yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
that whenever you go back down there, you are welcomed with open arms. So that's really
Absolutely,
nice. That's good to know.
yeah.
Moving on. This might be a really broad question, but it's a question that I have to ask because that's just how I am. What is your like, I don't want to say dream job, like, or your aspiration? You know what?
I
If you could do anything, what would you do?
I would probably be a national speaker. Um, But I will say this: I live my dreams. I do live them currently. I'm really big about making intentional lists And years ago, someone shared that gem of knowledge with me, and so every year I make a list, and I draw a line down the middle, and at the top on the left side it says I will have, on the other side it says I will be, and then I list 5 things on each side, and then at the bottom I write ask, seek, and knock, which is that verse that I was telling you about, right? Because it's just a reminder that God has that for us, and then I consciously and subconsciously am working towards those goals. Well, I got to tell you, I'm on my 3rd list. I am on my 3rd list. Yeah. So
Wow.
I have my dream job. Years ago, I remember putting on one of my lists, I want to be a luxury eyewear rep for for a top company. Yeah. So now I am. Like,
And did.
I just can't. Let me tell you, the only thing that keeps making the list is that husband part. I haven't quite conquered that yet. So I keep moving that over to my new list, but that's okay.
It's like a little afterthought, you know, like
I'm like,
you're trying to conquer the world.
Gotta work it out.
You're solving world hunger and all this other stuff. So
Girl, please.
just put it like put a little PS on it, like PS.
And can you send me a cool guy? Right.
Right. Just a little something, nothing major.
Right.
So how do you describe what you do to people when they ask you?
As far as my career? Yeah. So I'm a licensed optician. So opticians sometimes work in eye doctors' offices. Sometimes they have their own offices where they sell contacts and glasses. And sometimes they work in hospital opticals. There's all kinds of things opticians can do. It's one of those trades that a lot of people are not familiar with because it is a skilled trade. You get licensed through a state board. And I've been doing it since I was 19 years old. It was only 19. You guys, I'm 43.
Wow.
My age out, 43. So a long time. So it took me, can I say this though? How long did it take me to get to my dream? Right? So sometimes we want it to happen overnight, but no, you're in training. So it took me 20 years to get to the point of becoming a sales rep for the luxury eyewear company and becoming the first Black working for them. So, as a rep. So it was really awesome.
Nice. And I think people want to skip the process and they don't want to fall in love with the process, but it sounds like you did fall in love with the process and you're enjoying all those fruits. So that's how it should be. And you are a great example of that, and being patient and knocking and asking and seeking. So look at you, just living through that scripture. I love that.
Thanks, Stephen.
So what's the most challenging thing about your title?
That's a good question. I would say that I'm sure that people probably think that we're like Miss USA or something, that, when I was reaching out to recruit young ladies for the next season, they were like, oh, that's not me. I can't, that's not something that's me. And I understood that what they meant was they felt like it was just like a frilly pageant, right? And it's so much more than that. So I wish that there's not a lot of opportunities, I think, in the community to be a leader in the community, right? And this is one. This is a way to be a voice in the community and a leader in the community. And so I think that's difficult to get people to understand the importance that I see in the role. Yeah.
And the most rewarding.
Yeah. The most rewarding is, oh my gosh, there's so many things. When you walk in with a crown on, right? Something just happens. People they light up. Oh my gosh, they light up. And then they see us when I'm out and they see it says Juneteenth, Indy Juneteenth. They're just, oh my gosh. I remember I went to read to some children and they were like, Queen, there's a queen here. Oh my gosh, why are you coming to see us? Like, right? And then I was at the Children's Museum recently and I met a woman and her son was about 7. As soon as I walk in, he's like, I know you, you're Miss Indy Juneteenth. And I'm like, yes, I am. And he's like, and she said, Teresa, after she knew my name, she was like, Teresa, my son talked about you like forever. And I'm like, really? So he was at a camp that I spoke at, right? And he came home and told his mom, "Mom, I met Miss Indy Juneteenth, and she had a hard childhood, but she's okay, Mom, she's okay." Right? So you don't even know what you're going to leave behind. You have no clue. And so these nuggets, and and his eyes just lit up when he saw me. It was just amazing. Those are the times that I will never forget.
Wow, it's really interesting that you don't really realize the mark you leave on people and the impression that you leave on them that you probably didn't even realize was in the same room, and people are always watching. So that's
Absolutely.
that's something.
Yeah.
So last question.
Okay.
What is a common misconception that people have about Juneteenth now that it's more nationally recognized as a holiday now?
I think that some people there's an interesting dynamic, right? There are some people I think that feel like, well, why should we celebrate, that because we were enslaved so long, and then all of a sudden there's that misconception, but they don't understand. See, let me tell you what people don't understand. Let me roll up my sleeves. They
Right.
don't understand that the fight starts from the root up, right? It starts in the ground, right? And so sometimes we just see the moment that that you've made your goal, but what about how long you've been fighting for it? So
Right.
I will never dismiss the fight, right? It is vital that we understand the significance of Juneteenth, right? When we think about, there was a older lady, I can't remember her name at this very moment, and I feel so bad to not remember her name. But anyway, she walked from DC. I have to look it up because my mind just right now is. Hold on one second. She walked from her home in Texas to DC to bring awareness to Juneteenth, and yes. And I know I say her name all the time, Miss Opal Lee. How could I forget? Miss Opal Lee. And she was in her 70s at the time, and late 70s at that, and a few years ago. And she began to walk from her home in Texas to Washington, D.C., simply to bring awareness to Juneteenth and why it needed to be a national holiday. And if someone at 80 years old can decide to take, you see what I'm saying?
I'm just thinking, like, what part of Texas? Because she's
I
from
know
Houston.
that
That's,
I don't even know.
you got like 5 days.
It was probably hot, right? Yeah. You got to look up her story. It's amazing.
Right.
But she did that, and she did that because she understood the significance of it, right? It's extremely important, and so, yeah, it's vital to me that people understand that, and that we research our history and we know it for ourselves. We don't wait to be taught it. We go out and we teach it to our children, and we know it for ourselves. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And how can somebody celebrate with their family and friends? I know so many people are like, well, how do you really celebrate Juneteenth? Is it just a cookout? Do you go visit somewhere? Do you go to a museum? Like, what do you really do? What are you supposed to do?
That's a really good question. Back in the day, we did get together and we did cookouts and things like that. One, because we were limited on where we could go. That was the main reason, right? Liberation Park, where they ended up having the Juneteenth celebration, that was the only space they had that they would not be assaulted and abused and things like that. So that's why they had it there. But we have a lot more freedoms now. So we can, we have the Indy Juneteenth parade, we have the Indy Juneteenth step show, it goes on and on. There's so many things that weekend that are happening, and it is becoming larger. And I'm not one to say that this Juneteenth celebration is more authentic than this one. It's ridiculous, right? We all should be in it for the love of it, of celebrating, and we should encourage people to celebrate with us. That's my goal. That's what my belief is.
I love that. Do you have anything else you would like to share with the viewers that are watching, people that might tune in later to watch? Do you have anything that you would like to share?
Yes. If you know any young woman that you feel like would be a wonderful queen, please have her register today, by the end of today, for the next coming season. I can't wait to meet her.
Oh my goodness. And how do they register?
Again, you can register on indyjuneteenth.org. That's indyjuneteenth.org. Thank you so much, Tia. It's been amazing.
Thank you. It's always good and nice to just have a conversation. It doesn't feel like an interview. It doesn't feel
Yeah.
like, pulling teeth trying to get your responses. So this was really refreshing. I really enjoy it. I'm really thankful that you're able to join us. And I hope that we can have you on campus this year, this semester, or next semester, so you can, shine light, like you said, and be a beacon of light to our
Thank
students,
you.
staff, and faculty. We would really love to have you here
Thank you.
whenever you're available before you pass the crown to
Okay.
the next Miss Juneteenth. But in the meantime, between time, ladies, please go register for Miss
Please.
Juneteenth in Indianapolis. That is all
Thank
the time we have. Again, thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing your story and your future plans with the Martin community. I'm your guest host, Tia King, and I'll see you the same place, same time next week, right here on Let's Talk Live with Martin U.
Thank you so much, Tia. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.